all love to pet a good dog or scratch a cute cat behind the ears, but not all animals are fluffy bundles of joy we can snuggle up with. Some should absolutely never be touched, no matter how tempting. These are dangerous animals you should never touch. 15. Sea urchin. If you've ever been snorkeling or diving around a reef, you'll be more than familiar with the scourge of the sea urchin. There are actually at least 200 different species of them, and they come in a wide range of different shapes and colors. But one thing's true about all of them. You definitely want to do everything in your power to avoid touching or standing on one. They have two types of defense, the visible spikes and the venom that they contain. If you're unfortunate enough to make contact with one, the effect it will have depend on whether the spine is able to puncture your skin or not. If it does, it will release venom too, and will probably break off inside your body, which can cause further damage. An urchin sting is painful as soon as it occurs, and will lead to virtually instant swelling. Further symptoms can develop such as weakness, muscle ache, drowsiness, and even paralysis, and if left untreated, the puncture site may also become infected. A small percentage of people who are stung by urchins can die as a result, mainly because of allergies to their venom, so to be on the safe side, you're best staying well. Right here is a gnarly critter known as the giant water bug, and you seriously don't want to be bitten or stung by one of these guys. Whatever you do, keep your hand well away. You can see in this image what a bite or sting from a giant water bug can do to a human hand, and I am sure you can agree that is not something anybody wants to happen to their poor little fingers. More formally known as Abetes harberti, they are often given the name toe biters because they are known to literally nip at human toes. Growing up to 4 inches in size, they are most common found in North and South America, Northern Australia, and East Asia. If you live in those parts of the world and ever see one of these things, we seriously recommend you keep your fingers and toes to yourself. Blue-ringed octopus. There are 4 different species of blue-ringed octopus, each of which lives in the waters of the Pacific and Indian Oceans, and each of which is extremely dangerous and should never ever be touched or picked up. This is because they're regarded as being the world's most venomous animal, and each individual contains enough venom to kill 26 adults. This is surprising considering they grow to be no more than 8 inches long, and their beautiful coloration and docile nature means that people instinctively want to pick them up if they see them in the water or in a rock pool. This is a big mistake, however, because the bite of a blue-ringed octopus is almost impossible to feel, and the first sign you'll get that you've been envenomed is when the symptoms start to happen. Their venom contains several powerful chemicals, including tetrodotoxin, dopamine, taurine, and histamine. It's more than 1,200 times more powerful than cyanide and leads to paralysis within minutes. It's a particularly horrible way to die because most deaths occur due to the inability to breathe. And before that happens, you're also likely to become nauseous, lose your sense of sight, and won't be able to move at all. So wouldn't be able to tell anyone nearby what's happening. There's no antivenom for this sting, so if a lethal dose makes its way into your system, you'd better pray it ends quickly. Number 13. Fire coral. Fire corals are the yellow, green, or brown growths that you see around coral reefs, and look so similar to seaweed that they are often mistaken for it. They can be found in the Indian, Pacific, Atlantic, and the Caribbean, and are particularly common where the currents passing over the reefs are strong. Surprisingly, despite their name, they're not actually a type of coral, but instead have closer links with Hydra. This means that they have different defense mechanisms to corals, and one, in particular, means that you want to do all you can to avoid touching one. They have small, almost invisible tentacles all over them that are covered in nematocysts. These explosive cells rupture upon contact and release toxic chemicals in a similar way to how a jellyfish sting works. If you touch one gently, they will create an intense burning sensation on the surface of your skin. But if you are unlucky enough to be scratched by the fire coral, the chemicals will be released underneath your skin and can cause excruciating pain for a few weeks. Fire corals are, therefore, a well-known danger on the reefs, and divers are routinely warned to stay away from them. Number 12. Pufferfish. There are more than 200 different known species of pufferfish, all of which live in warmer waters around the world, and the vast majority of them can cause serious problems for anyone that mistakenly touches them. That's because they have a powerful means of defense. They have developed this because they're relatively slow moving through the water and can't simply swim away from danger. So, when they feel threatened, they are able to inhale water or air into their stomachs until their bodies swell up into a spherical shape. They are also covered in hard-to-see spines, and their flesh contains a powerful neurotoxin called tetrodotoxin, which can be deadly to humans. Even if it doesn't kill you, each fish contains enough of it to cause you serious pain or discomfort. But surprisingly, this isn't its normal effect on other animals. To sharks, for example, it simply tastes unpleasant, and means they won't try to eat the fish, but it doesn't cause anywhere near the same amount of problems to them as it does to humans. Number 11. Crown of thorns starfish. Most starfish are completely harmless. But there's one that's found in the Indian and Pacific Oceans that has a nasty surprise for anything that tries to touch it. It's one of the largest starfish species in the world, and is known as the crown of thorns starfish. Growing up to 14 inches across, their bodies are a familiar starfish shape, but unlike most others, they are covered in long, sharp spines. Not only does this pose a risk of cuts and abrasions, but these spines also contain powerful toxins. If part of one breaks off into a wound, it will almost instantly lead to a sharp stinging sensation, continuous bleeding and swelling, and nausea for a number of days. Population numbers of these starfish are a concern on coral reefs because they actively hunt and eat coral polyps. In recent years, human fishing of a few species that eat the stars has meant that they have bred unchecked in some areas, and the damage is becoming increasingly clear to see. Conservation efforts involve removing the stars or injecting them with chemicals to kill them, which is something that has to be done extremely carefully to reduce the risk of being injured while doing it. Number 10. Indian red scorpion. Indian red scorpions are native to India, Pakistan, and Nepal, and were first scientifically described in 1798. They grow to around 4 inches long and can be a range of colors such as orange, red, brown, and blue. They are nocturnal and tend to feed on small vertebrates like lizards, but very little is actually known about them. They appear to prefer areas covered in vegetation and will often exist in larger numbers near human settlements, and it's this proximity that's made them renowned in the area. They aren't particularly aggressive, but if you were to touch or try to hold one, it'll immediately try to sting you with its tail. If successful, the toxins it injects into your system can lead to serious consequences, such as severe pain, vomiting, unconsciousness, pink phlegm, erratic heart rates, and in some cases, death. There's no antivenom, but other treatments have been shown to assist recovery, and current estimates suggest that the mortality rate is somewhere between 8 and 40%. With most victims being children, Indian red scorpions are, therefore, a classic case of you can look, but don't touch. Number 9. The Brazilian walking spider. There are actually 8 different species of Brazilian wandering spiders, and each is regarded as one of the most venomous types of spiders in the world. Their Greek name is Phonutria, which means murderous, and the more you hear about them, the clearer it becomes why this is a perfect description. They can grow to be about 8 inches long, and don't build webs, instead crawling across the jungle floor in search for food. They aren't particularly aggressive against anything they're not trying to eat, but they will take a defensive posture if they feel they're in danger. At first, they'll raise their front 2 legs as a warning, and if this doesn't work, they'll preemptively try to bite. The toxins they inject will cause extreme pain straight away, and within half an hour lead to either high or low blood pressure, rapidly changing heartbeats, cramping, vertigo, blurred vision, and a severe shock reaction. It is possible that this can lead to death, although only in very rare circumstances. But with such painful and uncomfortable symptoms, you might wish it was fatal as you let the venom take its course. Number 8. URCHIN jellyfish. Found in the waters of northern Australia, the IRUKANDJI jellyfish is one of the smallest species of jellyfish in the world, but is also one of the most dangerous. They grow to no larger than the size of a fingernail, and were named after the URCHIN people who lived in the coastal regions in the area, and their discovery in the 60s explains a mysterious illness that had long plagued those who had entered the waters called the URCHIN syndrome. The jellies have tentacles that can be a couple of feet long, and inject their potent toxin through stingers located along them and their bell. It's described as being 100 times more potent than the venom of a cobra, and 1,000 more times than of a tarantula's. And it's responsible for sending at least 100 people to the hospital each year. Just a tiny amount of venom is needed to result in complications, and symptoms will soon occur after contact, such as severe headaches, nausea, vomiting, increased heart rate, and hallucinations. These can last for days or weeks, and without medical attention are likely to be fatal. Luckily, now there are several methods to reduce the severity of an IRUKANDJI jellyfish sting, so deaths are now few and far between. Number 7. LONOMIA obliqua. More commonly known as the giant silkworm moth, the LONOMIA oblique is relatively uninteresting when it's an adult, but while it's in its larval form, things are far more remarkable. The caterpillars grow to become around 2 inches long and are usually either green or brown. They camouflage well into the background of the jungles in South America, but are still an appealing treat to other animals in the region, so they have developed a secondary form of defense to significantly increase their chances of survival. They are covered in hollow body hairs that can easily detach and be breathed in by a potential threat, and can also puncture the skin. They contain a potent venom which passes through the hollow spines and was the first caterpillar discovered that can be deadly to humans. Each sting releases a small amount of toxin, so it's estimated that you need to be stung between 20 and 100 times to receive a fatal dose, but that's easily possible if you were to pick one up. And this species is thought to be responsible for at least 500 deaths. The first signs of envenomation are swelling, headaches, fever, and vomiting, and this leads to hemorrhagic diathesis within 24 hours and death soon after. If you see one of these in the wild, you better stay well clear, and definitely don't be tempted to touch it. Number 6. The DEATHSTALKER scorpion. Found across the desert regions of Africa and the Middle East, the ominously named DEATHSTALKER scorpion is one of the most dangerous species of scorpion on Earth, and has been linked with countless human fatalities. These unassuming creatures only grow to around 3 inches long, but if you get close enough to one, or stupidly try to touch it, you're in for a world of pain. They are highly aggressive against perceived threats, and can attack with their stinger in a fraction of a second. The venom it injects is a mixture of a number of neurotoxins, including chlorotoxin, charbadotoxin, xylotoxin, and 3 types of agitotoxins. If you think this blend sounds horrific, then you'd be absolutely correct. It's unbelievably painful from the moment the sting occurs and can lead to complications such as paralysis, a malfunctioning central nervous system, and loss of muscle control. People are also likely to suffer from anaphylaxis as a result of envenomation, and when enough toxins are present, the usual cause of death is either asphyxiation or pulmonary edema. Even though there's an antivenom for the DEATHSTALKER sting, it needs to be administered in such large doses that this itself can cause further medical complications.